Good morning and welcome to Whenever You Are. I am Bandit Haze, and today, what a week it's been, right? What a week. Loads of things been happening, right? So the main thing I want to talk about today actually has nothing to do with any of the big stories that have been going on. I decided I wanted to talk a little bit about my history with movies, talk about when I started watching movies and VHS, a little bit inspired by something I saw on a Jid Lid video where he was talking about his top 5 zombie movies, and he mentioned the old sort of VHS stores, and it kind of reminded me a little bit about the old sort of VHS stores in the old days of movies when I started watching movies. I want to talk a little bit about that. But I was thinking, do I want to talk about the whole PewDiePie thing? 'Cause that's of course the big news that's been happening. PewDiePie being dropped from his MCN. And there's a few things I could say about that for sure, but I thought, you know what, from what as best as I can tell, it doesn't seem PewDiePie is too bothered about what's going on. I don't think he's made any public statements as yet, at least not that I've seen anyway. His videos are going up as normal and not really addressing it. I'm sure he'll address it at some point, but for now it seems to be whatever about it. So, it is what it is. If he's not too bothered about it, I'll see why I should be. But I will say this: I do think it's a little bit shameful on Maker's part and YouTube as well, for that matter. Just the way they reacted to the whole thing without really going into it. I mean, of course, it's, as their business, they have the right to say whoever they want to work with, and if they don't want to work with you for whatever reason, they have that right. But in terms of just the way they just reacted to the news and say, "Oh, we're dropping him, and you've got to cancel this, we're going to cancel that." I mean, imagine like if you're a boss and somebody comes up to you and are like, "Yeah, Bob over there, he's an anti-Semite," and you just went up to Bob and said, "You're fired." It doesn't quite work that way, right? There's steps that you go through to make sure you're not being lied to, make sure that you got information correctly, make sure everybody knows what's going on, make sure you're giving out appropriate warnings if you need to. Yes, there's levels that you go to, steps that you go through, but it doesn't seem that happens. It's just people just react to everything and just react. And when the people who are responsible for running the platform are just reacting to the news as well, it's not really good thing. But anyway. Maybe I'll talk more about it some other time, but yeah, for now, let me talk about this VHS thing. But before I get into the whole VHS thing, though, me have to let you know, Wagwan. So last week I mentioned that, I was starting to feel a bit ill last week, and then, I did get ill. I got very ill, actually. It got a bit worse the next day, and then by, I think, Friday afternoon, so Friday late afternoon is when it peaked. It was really, really bad then, head was just painful. Couldn't really breathe too well. I was shivering even though I was warm. I was proper wrapped up, but I could feel the warmth, but still just shivering like anything. So it got really, really bad Friday, and it started to get a little bit better, I think, by Friday evening, but it didn't really get significantly better until maybe about sort of Sunday or so, Sunday afternoon, I think. So I'm a bit better now, still feeling some of the effects of it, but I'm a little bit better now. And, definitely want to say a big thank you to everybody who, sent out, well wishes and, saying get well soon and that kind of stuff. And I really appreciate that, so thank you. All of that. I've been eating a lot of oranges, and because apparently we eat a lot of oranges. I didn't know this, but apparently we eat a lot of oranges, and the same with lemons as well. Acid, it causes the inside of your mouth to go sore. So right now the inside of my mouth is a little bit sore, so now I've got that to deal with. But yeah, hopefully I won't last too long. In fact, real quick actually, because I looked up online because my mouth was feeling sore. I looked up why is the roof of my mouth sore? And like, the first result was you got cancer, and I'm like, raw, come on. It's that's what happens when you try to diagnose yourself on the internet. And a bit further, I was like, yeah, actually oranges can cause your mouth to go sore because of acid and stuff. I was like, okay, well, I have been eating a lot of oranges. That's probably what it is. But just start with like, yeah, cancer. I was like, raw, come on, man, But anyway, I'm also the giveaway. The clues that I gave were darkness, choices, and then not needed right now. That was the clues that I gave to the game that I'm about to give away. And if you guessed, drum roll please, if you guessed Batman, a Telltale series, then you guessed correctly. That's a game that I'm giving away. So me go big when I do giveaways. I did Battlefield 1 before, now I'm doing Batman Telltale series. This is a game that I actually do have already. I've not played it yet because Witcher 3 is practically my life right now. So I haven't got around to Batman the Telltale series yet. I don't know personally if it's pretty good, but I have been watching some videos. In fact, shout out to BelgianDan for watching his videos on the Batman Telltale series, and it looks pretty cool. How you could enter this particular competition: if you make sure you are subscribed to the channel, leave a like or a dislike. You know, either's good. You know, like or dislike, and also leave a comments as well. Leave as many comments as you want to leave. The more comments you leave, the better chance I have of winning. Comments though do have to have do have to make sense. Like if it's something like, you know, XX dot dot, you know, whatever, then yeah, no, that doesn't count. You can say anything you want, good or bad, right or wrong, whatever you want to talk about. You can say anything you want, but as long as there's at least one sentence that is readable and you can decipher some kind of message from it, then we're all good. All right, so yeah, Batman, a Telltale series. That's the game we're giving away next week. Is when I intend on announcing the winner for that. Yeah, so yeah, let me talk about my little history here. My little history with video game, with VHS, and movies. So I've been watching movies my whole life. I don't really remember what the first movie I ever watched was. Some shitty movie on TV, I'm sure. I used to watch a lot of action movies. I don't remember what they were called, but you know, martial arts movies used to come on TV that we'd stay up and watch. And there was just a bunch of stuff. I remember staying up late to try and watch the naughty movies as well. But you know, you have to be a bit careful with that when your mum's around. It's like, okay, we had one TV in the house, so it was like you have to wait till maybe she fell asleep. My dad would work nights, so he was never around. He was around, but he wasn't never around in the evening. So just waiting for my mum to fall asleep, and it's like, okay, yeah, watch naughty, watch the sexy movies now. But I don't remember any of the names of those movies. But the first movie I remember watching that I remember the name of was Karate Kid. I remember it came on television, and this would have been maybe like 86, 87 or something like that. It came on television, and I'd heard about the film. And I was really excited for it because it's a martial arts movie and everything else. And I remember watching it and just being like so like enthralled by it, feeling like it's such amazing, like, and everything else, you know, Daniel-san and all that kind of stuff. And I remember the next day in school, I got into a fight where this guy, I was sitting down and this guy's walking past and he bumps into me. And I remember getting up and like throwing him on the floor. And you know, I just watched Karate Kid, so I'm all like, you know, all that stuff. And oh, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Everybody else was around, just like cheering out, all like, yeah, fight. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, don't let your kids watch martial arts movies. If you got kids who are like 7 years old, 8 years old, stuff like that, you know, don't make them watch martial arts movies because they start. Listen, we used to try. I remember watching stuff and trying to fly kick light switches. It was ridiculous. Yeah, definitely influenced by the movies. So there might be some truth to that whole thing, just a little bit. So yeah, and then the next, the first VHS, we don't have a VHS player like in the early days. We don't get one right away. We got one like maybe late 80s, I think. And the first VHS tape that I can remember, well, I didn't buy it. My mum bought it, but bought it for us, for, you know, the kids, right? Was RoboCop and Rain Man. And here's how this happened, because you might be thinking, well, RoboCop is an 18 rated movie. I mean, we were like maybe 8, 9 or something like that at the time. But yeah, why's your mum buying you 18 rated movies? Here's the thing, my parents are from Nigeria and they're not into movies that much. And plus in Nigeria, like, you don't really have age ratings. So you got the fact that they're from a place where you don't really bother. I mean, Nigeria's a place where you can send like your 6-year-old daughter out to go buy you cigarettes and nobody bats an eyelid at that. You know, it's what it is, right? So you got a place, they're coming from that place. And plus, they're not really into the whole thing anyway, so age ratings is not something they really know to look for even. You know, so RoboCop sounds like it's for kids, right? So, and the way they marketed it, it may as well have been. But yeah, so they bought that from Woolworths of all places. If you know about Woolworths is long since closed down. We got RoboCop, we got Rain Man, and a Cliff Richards VHS. My mum bought it for herself. And I remember getting home and watching RoboCop, and the first time I watched that movie, it was just like I couldn't even watch the whole thing the whole way through. Like, I mean, I did watch the whole way through, but I was like this, like just it was so violent. And I believe that's the first movie that I watched that I knew wasn't 18. It probably was the first 18 rated movie. 18, by the way, for American fans, is the certificates that we have in the UK for films. So 18 means you have to be 18 and older, 15 and older, and so on. And then there's like PG and U for just everybody. But this is the first, I don't think it was the first 18 rated movie that I watched, but I do believe it's the first movie that I knew was 18 rated, because if you watch movies on television, they never actually told you what the rating was. At least back then it didn't. Now you can press info and it tells you. But back then you didn't know what the age rating was. So I've probably seen 18 rated movies before that, at least in some parts. But this is the first time I knew it was 18 rated, and I watched the movie, and yeah, I was like, this is why movies have ratings, right? You just ask, oh my days, what have I got myself into? It was pretty violent. But I remember getting to the end of it and then rewinding, because it's VHS, you had to rewind it, right? And then watching it again and watching that movie over and over and over again. And here's the thing: the VHS player that we had back then, it had a rewind button, it had a play button. It did not have a fast forward button, so we rewind the tape all the way back to the beginning, and then it had to, because you couldn't fast forward, I had to watch the trailers all the way through as well. So I remember going back to the beginning, watching the trailers and watching the movie, going back to the beginning, watch the trailers, watch the movie, and I did that so many times that I practically had not just the movie memorized, but pretty much all the trailers memorized as well. Like I even remember some of them. There was like a Jimi Hendrix trailer on there. There was a Phil Collins trailer on there. There was a Billy Connolly trailer on there as well. And right before the movie starts, there was a trailer for the RoboCop video game, and it was like RoboCop, part man, part machine, all computer game. So I never did play the RoboCop computer game though, but yeah, I remember watching those trailers, watching the movie. But I remember like the first sort of time that I thought to myself that I am somebody who likes movies more than the average person was probably around about 93 or so now. So let me set this up a little bit. So this is a secondary school time for me, and in our secondary school we had what was called a referral room. Now referral room is when you misbehave in class, they send you out to referral room. We had detention as well, but this is something that you did during the school time. So if you're misbehaving, you're disruptive, whatever, they'll send you out to referral room and you'll sit there and think about what you've done. But I remember the first time I got sent to referral room was during my first year of secondary school, and I remember thinking on the way there, like, oh man, I'm in so much trouble, and I remember getting there and then opening the door, going inside, and it was like all the big kids, like all that sort of 15-year-old, 16-year-old, the big kids, right? And there was like the teacher in charge. It wasn't a teacher, it was like a caretaker, and he I guess I don't know if it's fair to say he didn't care, but maybe he was just not as bothered as maybe some of the other teachers were. So he'd let us just run riot pretty much, and we would be like I was learning like all the coolest swear words, and we were just having so much fun. I was like, man, this is awesome. So after that point, you just wanted to go to referral room. But anyway, so a few years later, maybe like 93, maybe like 94, 94-ish, maybe 95 actually. But anyway, round about that sort of mid-90s era. One of these times I'm in the referral room, and I guess somebody just left the television and the VHS player in the referral room, didn't bother to take it out, and somebody just happened to have a VHS of Hard Boiled, the John Woo film starring Chow Yun-fat, and he was like, yeah, do you want to watch this movie? And we're like, yeah, right. So he put it on, and everybody was like, oh man, this is so sick, man, this is, all that kind of stuff. I was watching it like, this is incredible. Like I could see the violence, I could appreciate that. But at this point, I've watched so many violent movies. We used to have go talking about VHS, the VHS shops. We used to have a place where you could rent VHSs from, and they'll rent it for like £1 for a day, and we'd rent so much from there. And here's the thing about this place is that when we set it up, the guy was like, look, I was maybe like 11, 12 or something like that. He was like, look, just get someone who's like old enough to get someone who's over 18 to put their name down, and you can rent whatever you want. That's what he said to us. You can rent whatever you want. So of course we got a mum. Again, from a place who doesn't really know about that stuff, not really into it. Just like, okay, yeah, it'll be fine. We're not telling them that we're renting out, the most violent movies or whatever. It was like, yeah, it'll be fine. But so we got to sign up, and then we'll go there, and 12 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, renting out the most violent 18 certificate movies, plus a whole bunch of movies that we just hadn't watched because we didn't really go cinema when we were kids. So by the time we get to sort of 94, 90-ish, whenever this referral room time was, I'd seen a bunch of violent movies. I'm kind of a violence connoisseur at this point, right? And but I could still appreciate the violence in this movie. But I was like, this is incredible, because it wasn't just violence. It was elegant. It was really elegant, and it's very stylized and very choreographed. And I was like, I've got to know more about this. I went home and I was looking up places where you can get movies like Hard Boiled. I remember finding out about Ringo Lam, who did City on Fire, and then also there was the Return to a Better Tomorrow series, Bullet in the Head, and what I did is I joined this video club we used to have at the time, where if you buy, it was called Britannia, and what you had to do is that you had to buy 6 movies within 2 years, 6 full price movies in 2 years. But for every full price movie you get to buy another movie at half price. And once you get to, I think it's, I can't remember the number, it might have been 6 movies. Once you get to 6 full price movies that you buy, then you get a free movie. They had the the Chinese movies, the John Woos, all that kind of stuff that I was getting into at the time. And what made me really realize that I liked movies more than most people was when I go back to school and be like, oh, have you seen this? And I'm like, I don't even care. Like, people just like, yeah, whatever. It's just. And I was things that I was so excited about. Things that I was like, man, I got to talk about this. Everyone else was just like, whatever. In the early days of the internet, so a few years later, I think this would have been Britannia. I was still with Britannia at that point, but I think I was pretty much coming to the end of my usage with them. Not because it was a bad company or they're falling off, whatever. Well, they did fall off in the end, but DVDs were starting to come out, the internet was coming out, and it was much easier to just buy stuff from other places at that time. So for a company like Britannia, just kind of just drifted out of the way. But yeah, I remember starting a website back in the day called Bandit's Cult World, where I'd review movies, and I did that for a while. This is back when you used to have things like Zoom, if you remember Zoom, zoom.com, where you set up your own free website. But then I did that for maybe a few years, and then it closed down, and it took everything along with it, and I was so disappointed. But it kind of put me off setting up another website, at least another free website anyway. These days they're a lot more reliable, I think, but back then, like, there was Zoom, there was GeoCities. I had a GeoCities website as well, bloody hell. But yeah, we're going back a while. But yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. So let me know what you guys think. I remember about the giveaway. Leave a comment. The more comments you leave, let me know your history with DVDs or VHS. If you remember VHS, let me know. That was my history with VHS. Villagers, what do you think? Video or video? Let me know down below, and if you liked this video, give it a like and share it amongst your friends. If you did not like it, then give it a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. Either way, let me know your reasons in the comments. Subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for watching, and until whenever, if ever, be kind, rewind. So let's talk about this whole GameStop thing, so a Circle of Life thing. Now, for those who don't know, real quick, Circle of Life, as I've understood it, is an initiative by GameStop to sell more of the pre-owned stuff, because that's where most of the money is. If they're for the brand new games and brand new consoles, the profit margin that GameStop take is